world history today. It's a little bit different, correct? 3 days ago was different than 3 days later. What was the difference? Something going on in Europe. Actually, I was thinking that I was going to do something else, but then after what was happening in Europe, I thought that we would have something connected with the current event, what is going on in Europe. There's a big word that was going on for 4 months, talked about the Britain exiting from European Union. Since 73, they were part of the European Union. I'm not going to talk politics, but we're going to talk about the history in future. Okay, so which needs something today and something yesterday too. So it's a kind of history which would be a kind of prophecy counting down. Since 1973, the Britain was part of the European Union. Interestingly, when we just heard the result, we had been talking right there on the corridor there. Oh, then how it is going to be, the status, is it not going to be in Europe or whatever it is? If you know, whenever you are in Europe, if, in a sense, if you're in England, if someone from England is traveling to the rest of the Europe, they always say, I'm traveling to Europe. Always they felt, all along they felt they're different. And the rest of the Europe, they're traveling to England, or from Europeans from another part of the country, maybe Australia or United States, anywhere. When they are going to England, they say England. They don't say I'm traveling to Europe. But when they go to Europe, they say Europe. Always this was there in mindset. Nevertheless, what was going on was, for a long time, strain of whether or not to be in the part of European Union. Now, is there anything to do with the European Union with our Bible and Bible study? And the entire Europe history is something to do with Bible history, not only European Union. So then, for which, and I would take you to the book of Daniel, chapter 2. But it had the introduction in Daniel chapter 1, but we will just go straight to Daniel chapter 2. We will study a few things and quickly browse what it would be on. And just to give you an introduction to the history back to European Union, this had been there for over 63 years. From 1953, it was founded only with the 7 members of the European Economy Society. 7 countries. But today, today it's 27, but 3 days ago, it was 28 countries. The composition is interesting. Out of those 28 countries, 7 countries is with the monarchies, and 21 countries with, let's call it a republic system, or with the democracy, let's put it this way. So it's a combination of both monarchy and democracy together, having 28 countries, 2 different systems. But just before, during the Cold War time, it has a 2 different system. Again, it is a democratic system with a kind of little bit soft, with the iron hand of the Eastern Bloc, with what we used to call as behind the Iron Curtain. So one was so hard with the iron, one was a little bit soft with the human thing. Whereas demo is a kind of the man's, it's a democracy is a man's, it's been the government by the people, for the people, by the people. Now, in this 2016, 24th, is an exit of the Britain. And we don't know the fate of the other things. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2. This event takes place in a very interesting part of the time of the history of Babylon. Let's read from verse 1. And in the second year of reign of Nebuchadnezzar, dreamed a dream wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. So this was in the time of just the second year of reign of Nebuchadnezzar, one of the greatest king. And during this time, there were the Hebrews were also there in this particular area of the Babylonian, and Jerusalem was captured in the year 605. Daniel was a teenager at the time, and his friends were teenagers too. So what this Nebuchadnezzar did was, carrying some of those powerful intellectual with the blue-blooded people, carried them so that he can make them wise people, and they would be educated or indoctrinated to the thoughts of Babylon, that Babylonian ideas and teaching would be inculcated to these people, that they would be useful counselor for the king. This was the thought. So then, let's see what happens here. Then the king commanded to all to call the magicians, the astrologers, and the sorcerers, and the Chaldeans, and for to show the king the dream. So they came and stood before the king. Okay, the dream had a dream. His sleep was disturbed, and it was something different, strange. It's not a nightmare, it is something serious. And sometimes we have dreamed from three different ways of dreaming. One, if you have eaten a wrong food combination, wrong time, if you have a stomach upset, also bring dreams. That is something different. It could be a nightmare too. But sometimes God gives dreams and visions. God reveals. Sometimes it happens even in our lives. Sometimes God tells us certain things that it happens sometimes. Sometimes direct, sometimes maybe some kind of interpretation too. Here the dream which the king had, it had two things. One, it disturbed his sleep and disturbed his spirit. The reason was he forgot what about the spirit, forgot all about the dream. Had a dream and he forgot. You know the story. I'm not going into the story in detail. And verse 4, and then spake the Chaldeans to the king. And what did they say? O king, live forever. Tell thy servant the dreams, and we will show the interpretation. And the king summoned all the wise people, intelligent people, all the scientists of that time, that tell me the dream. It is something like one of you would be asking me, tell me what I'm thinking now. It's difficult. Sometimes if you know the subject matter, if you are commonly discussing, at least we can guess something what you might be thinking next because of the sequence of the conversation that we had. But without saying, somebody comes, tell me what I'm thinking, it's going to be difficult. If superficially, if you think this is what was happening, but if what was happening here, the king was not demanding something unusual. During that period of time, the Babylonian period, and those intellectuals, the Chaldeans, the astrologers, and soothsayers, they professed to have the ability to interpret the dream. So, they were a kind of supernatural people. So the king make a kind of ordinary demand. You people are supposed to be all-knowing. Now tell me my dream. Verse 6. Verse 5, then we'll go to 6. Then the king answered and said to the Chaldeans, the thing is gone from me. What is that? I have forgotten. It's not in my memory at all. This thing is gone from me. If he will not make known unto me the dream with the interpretation thereof, you shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made dunghill. When the king asks them do something, it's a kind of back answering to the king. You tell us the dream, then we tell you. And in the later part, he said that this is a strange thing. How can you tell us that you don't tell us, but you ask us to tell the interpretation thereof? It is just like a back answering. You try to back answer to your parents today. I don't know. It's not good. Back answering the parents. And back answering were teachers in school. And those days, back answering the king, you lose a head. They think that you're out of a head, so go without head. So now, here is it. If you don't tell me the dream, you don't tell me the meaning, off your head and off your family completely. Verse 6. If you saw the dream and interpretation thereof, you shall receive me of gift and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, let the king tell his servant the dream, and we will show the interpretation thereof. So now this answer provokes the king. They actually provoked the anger of the king. And the king answered and said, I know, I have certainty that you would gain the time, because you see the things is gone from me. You people are trying to take advantage. You want to buy some time. So you know that I forgot it. So you want to just simply buy the time. So then he says, if you will not make known unto me the dreams, there is but one decree for you. For you have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that you can show me the interpretation thereof. See, he got so much angry, and he gives a decree that they have to die. Now notice here these words, verse 10. Uninadvertently these wise men speak some truth here. What truth they are speaking here? The Chaldeans answered before the kings and said, there is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's merit. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asketh such things at any magicians or astrologer or Chaldeans. And it is rather things that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods whose dwelling is not with the flesh. They admit some fact unintentionally, uninadvertently. Nobody can interpret, nobody can do this job except God. Okay. Then comes verse 13. And the decree went forth, and the wise men should be slain. And they saw Daniel and his fellows to be slain too. Why Daniel? Daniel and his friends, they just graduated. Daniel and his friends were sent there to study for 3 years. Most colleges used to have 3.5 years schooling. Now they made it 4 years and 5 and more. But normally it used to be 3 years. In our time it was 3.5 years as a college studies. And Daniel was sent for 3 years for study. And he just graduated. He is not as wise as other people according to the calculation, because he is just a freshman out of a college. But nonetheless, the fresh out of college, you have a lot of things in your mind, just fresh from the university, you have everything that you can have. Even though just the entry level, they pay you less money, but the contribution they give is much more than the old other people, because of your knowledge you gained right out of the school. So the Daniel and his friends were also to be slain. Then the Daniel asked with the counsels and wisdom to Arioch, a captain of the king. And why is this? Then they will explain the reason. Then Daniel asked the captain, verse 15, and he answered and said unto Arioch, the king's captain, why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the things known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he would give him time, and that he would show the king the interpretation. And in Daniel's heart, he did not think something super. He was not thinking that he was going to be a Superman. He thought he was going to ask God. He knew how to deal with it. And every step of Daniel and his friend's life was guided by the Spirit of God. So he said, okay, if that's the case, let me ask my friend, who is my God. He will help me. Okay. Even if he has to dilate, he will. But he will ask God. You remember the experience of Daniel's friend? What they were telling when they were about to be thrown in the furnace? Our God is able to deliver us. Even if he would not, we will not bow. But it was not a presumption. They asked God what to do. And he continued with his direction. So Daniel went in and had a communion with God. Then he said that, okay, if the time is given, he would be able to. And here is where Daniel's, the method of functioning. Verse 17 says, then Daniel went into his house and made the things known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions. And he just did not want to do the job by himself. He wanted to do it with his friends. Then they would desire mercies of God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. They consulted together, they prayed together, then asked the mercy of God that they need not to be perished together with the others too. The first thing what they did was, together with their friends, come to the foot of the cross. They asked God the direction. Then what was the result of that? Then was a secret revealed unto Daniel in the night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. And Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are this. In this one, he enlists what his God can do. Verse 21, 22, we can just count on some of those things that he is listing here. And he changes the time and the season. He removeth king and setteth kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that knoweth understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. He enlisted several things what God can do. He changes the time and season, and He is the one who fixes the seasons and time. And there are times we suffered want of rain. If you remember, was it 2003 or 4, and we went in a big drought here. There was not enough snow the previous winter, not enough rain during the spring and summer. We had a little serious trouble. And we were asked to restrict even the use of water. Then one time we had a council meeting. Here we used more water because the council members were staying with the families. And then soon enough we got a letter from the county that you have consumed so much of water. Check if your tap is leaking, or you are over-consuming, or you are watering the lawn. And they wanted us to check, mark, and send. But when they found that we really consumed, they sent us a bill that we had to pay more money, because we went that far one time. So it is God who sets the time, changes the time, and sets the season. And He placed the king, and He removes the kings. And everything is God. This is what they understand. This is what they want to make known to the king. And He revealeth the deep and secret things. And He is the one who would be able to reveal the things. Now, after he knew what God has revealed to him, then he called this Arioch, the captain. He tells, please tell the king that the wise men need not to be destroyed. Even though initially when they prayed to God, they were concerned both about them and for themselves as well. They need not to die prematurely in their just a prime part of their youthhood. But then, now he says, he expanded that to the entire wise men, educated people. They need not to die. Now this man, when the captain comes, he took all credit to himself. What is saying there in verse 24? Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste and said thus unto him, I have found a man. What he says? I have found a man. He takes all the credit. This man is going to reveal everything. I have found a man of captive of Judah, and that will make known unto the king the interpretation. The kings answered and said unto Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar. And all Daniel and his friends, they did not have their Hebrew names in Babylon. They gave the Babylonian name so that every time they hear the name, they would feel Babylonian. And when their philosophy and education they had, everything would be Babylonian. So then, the Daniel and friends, they didn't care. Don't worry how we are called, but we will not compromise our principle. It's not that how we are called and how we carry ourselves. So this is what they had been knowing, and they were carrying themselves. And the king tells them, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof? It's a direct challenge. Can you interpret? Are you able to do this? But Daniel did not take the credit for himself, as did the captain of king. Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, the secret which the king hath demanded, cannot the wise men, the astrologers, and the magician, the soothsayers, so unto the king? It's a kind of a counter question. And verse 28, but there is a God in heaven that revealeth secret. He tried to put that in. None of these people who are so-called the wise people would be able to do the things. And make known and the secret to the king Nebuchadnezzar, what shall be in the later days, thy dream and the vision of thy hand upon the bed of this. As for thee, now he makes one more thing. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts come into thy mind upon thy bed, what should come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secret maketh known unto thee what shall come to pass. And here in these things, when king asks, can you interpret? He said, can these people interpret? They cannot. If that's the case, he meant to say, even these so experienced people, they cannot do. I cannot do either. But somebody does who is above us. That is the God of heaven. And then he continues there. As for me, okay, for you, you need the interpretation because you were disturbed. And you were worried about what happened in your bed and your head and what is going to take place after this. But he says, verse 30, but as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living. He said, this is not going to benefit me at all, whether I know the interpretation or not. This revelation has nothing to do with Daniel, me, and my friends. And then he says that, but for their sake that shall make known the interpretation to the king, that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. What was the purpose of a revelation of this dream? For two purposes. One is to tell the prophecy, the history of the world, tomorrow what is going to take place. And two, to bring the reality of the king to heart examination. In the first place, God permitted the Babylonians to capture the Judah just because they forgot God. Okay, now God wanted to make this king to understand that he is not big, he is not great. There is somebody above him. He has to understand the need of his salvation. For a heart searching was that the king need to understand the meaning of the dream also. Then he started telling, O king, thou sawest, behold a great image. And he started telling about this. His dream. He just said that you saw an image. It's a big image. Now, he tells the different part of it. The head was of gold, and the chest was of silver, and with the hip below, their belly below, is brass, and his leg is of iron, and the feet was a mixture of iron and clay. As soon as it was told, do you think that the king still would be having the perplexity? The king knew that exactly what he saw. Now, it might have been revealing, like the brother was telling about the reveal lesson. It was like he had a dream, he had forgotten. Now, once he kindled the thought, probably this dream comes before him. The magnificent image standing there, all a different metal, and the different part of it is the composition of. Now, what was happening here? Then he explained here, all this part is this, but the meaning of this is explaining here. And how is explaining is that, to talk to the king that, okay, you will be removed, you will be placed with somebody else, and you are going to be off your head. Sometime in the kings in those days behaved such a way, sometimes the messengers were killed. Somebody brings a very bad news off his head. So this is what they thought. They don't worry about the message, because the messengers were killed depending on the message. And here, if Daniel was going to tell that king, you will be removed and another king will come, that's kind of inviting much more trouble. When God gave him wisdom to explain him in such a way that thou art this head of gold, that means you are the superior one. There is nobody above you in this earthly kingdom. And he is trying to explain that. And after this shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee. He put all of them less. So you are the top man, the best one. Then after that is a little bit inferior kingdom of silver and brass shall rule the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be the strongest iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces, and subdueth all things, and as iron breaketh all these things, shall it break pieces and bruise. So then, after telling all these things, he said, you will be the topmost one, the gold. And the best one. During that time, the Babylonian kingdom empire was the most powerful one. Here there were many other empires too, but the Bible wants to talk something which is directly in connection with the prophecy, directly in connection with the history of the Christian church and the God's people. Even simultaneously in those days, even the China and the big empires had been there too, but none of those things were counted here. It takes also some other empires, some other kingdoms, like an Egyptian kingdom, and all it is all past one. But from the time of Daniel down until the end, some of the kingdoms which existed, which had been connected with God's people all the way along, is only taken. So why not more other kingdoms, you may ask? But it is not necessarily to be directly involved with God's people. Therefore, it is not there. But in the later days, there might be coming something we might be considering. So the Babylonian kingdom, they ruled from about 606 to 658 BC as the mightiest empire of the olden days. Then the succeeding kingdom was in 538, which was led by the Medo-Persians, which was led by Cyrus. And they ruled for a while until 331 BC. Then comes the next one, is the third kingdom, which is of the brass. Okay. This is led by Alexander the Great, the Greeks. Now, here we want to point a little bit on this one. The Greeks were known for their philosophy. The Greeks were known for their kind of their culinary art. They are known for their food. Anything they say that the Greek yogurt and Greek this thing, Greek salad and Greek thing, that is a big thing. Or the Mediterranean food is something so important wherever you go. It is a little different kitchen than the other kitchen. People like it, regardless of whether you are from Mediterranean or you are not. People kind of give credit to that when they like it, and they give something credit. So that is particularly can go also because they are more concerned on this one. And also, the scripture also say that that the spirit goes from the stomach too, and they are more philosophical. And all we remember a lot of Greek philosophers like Aristotle, Plato, and whatnot. So they are known for their philosophy, their ideas, and everything. And one more thing, these people are notoriously known for. They were the one who were making all kind of propagating of even those good old days about very perverted thought connected to the sex. And they start selling, even up until today, they sell all kind of statues and images which is portraying all those things. Those who had been in Greece, you probably would know. They are not ashamed to sell those things, even public and even to the children, to all people. So then everything related to this one, I'm putting a kind of literal meaning to this. And okay, going back to the silver part, this the chest and other part, and this also the thorax portion carry also the arms. The arms is the two arms. This is the Medians and Persians, the two different kind of kingdom together is the Medio-Persians. And I'm just covering to the literal aspect, and will be also the prophetic aspect we will be considering. And then the next one is the after this the brass. Then the next is the inferior kingdom is supposed to be the strongest one is the iron kingdom, is the leg, which is of the Romans. The Romans were the strong, iron-handed people with their military power. They controlled the entire world, and no one could challenge them. At least for 100 years, no one could challenge at all. The military power was so strong, so hard. And they were the one first also started laying down the highways and the roads, which was paved with the rock or with the stones. They made the Roman kind of roads. If you go to Europe in many places, until today they have that kind of roads there. And because they made the road not for regular communication, it's for their army can pass so swift and can take over whatever the places they could be. And they were actually terror, uncontrollable, and that was theirs. And they ruled for a long time, from 168 BC until 476 AD, until they were taken over by the barbarian tribes. After this, leg, then comes the feet. In the metal value also, from the top to bottom, it goes the lesser inferior value, but also when that comes to the feet, and it is not one kind of metal. It's not even alloy. Alloy is two metals put together, they are like one, like the material they use to make airplanes into aluminum. It's not like that. It's not two metals together. It is a combination of metal and a clay together. And they would not mingle. Then this one is the kind of progressive taking over. It's not in one kingdom come and succeed the other one. This was the time that when the barbarian tribes in 476, it came over and took over the western part of the Rome. Okay, let's put this Rome part again. And the leg portion is the two legs. And the Roman had two different kingdoms too, two different part of the Roman. One is the western Rome, with the capital having as the Rome, the Italy. And the other part is having the eastern part is having the headquarters or the capital is the Constantinople. But these people who took over from the barbarian tribes conquered the Roman Empire and divided it. And 10 of those people, I think you remember, maybe we can just recite all this, Ostrogoths and Visigoths and Franks and Vandals and Suez, Limanis, and Anglo-Saxon, Herules, and Lombards, and Burgundies, and all this. And 7 of them are still existing as a nation. 3 were taken over by the little horn which came up, but the 7 are still there. Like, for example, Anglo-Saxon is English people, the Franks are the French people, the Lombards are Italy. So then there are still they are there existing as, but they all these things are there, and the Bible says that in verse 23, And 43, chapter 2, verse 43 is that they shall mingle themselves with the seeds of men. And what does it mean? They will try to unite, first of all, through the marriages, so that they can establish and they can make a kind of artificial union with one kingdom to another kingdom. And those days, even until today, all the kings and all the rulers were connected through the marriage. This is why even Queen Victoria had this challenging question of which house he belongs to. Either she would be, she is a part German, part English. So finally they have to change even the name of the house even. And Queen Elizabeth had the same problem. So they are married, they are connected with one another. Even though during this period of time there were some powerful kingdoms were there, like Britain and Spain and Portuguese, and all these people were simultaneously existing as powerful countries, but they were not having a worldwide power, although the Britain claimed to be the sun never sets in British Empire. There was a time this was a slogan, but today I used to say that the sun never rises in British Empire, because this became so tiny though. But nevertheless, they were trying to be united first through the marriage. And it said that they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Men who have tried to unite this, like men like Napoleon, Mussolini, Hitler, and many others were trying to unite Europe as a one power, one government, and which was not possible because the prophecy says. And then came in 1953, the European Union came, they thought that they are going to have the excellent power. In 2008, when we had the recession and the money value was going down, when I was in Germany, they were telling, brother, please transfer the headquarters there to Germany. I asked why? Because the euro is strong. The dollar is falling every day. I said, yes, today, but the prophecy says the other way around. You will fall, and the dollar will be fine, and America will be the superpower at the end time. There is no other. And all others may appear to be strong, big power. There was one time in the 60s and 70s, even in 80, there was another superpower in the East. But that is not there in the prophecy as a superpower in the end time. There had been many powers came and went. But then, and Germany is not there as a superpower in the end time prophecy. So it's better where we are. But now what happened? In 2010, and they were lamenting, the euro was going down, and a lot of European countries were declaring bankruptcy and all those things. And so then here what is happening is that then the end time event is so rapid, very fast happening. In our country here, the presidential candidate, at least one of them, is trying to talk so many things. One more thing is this, the mixing together, the iron and clay could be in 3 different aspects we can put there. During this the East and West bloc time, people made an interpretation as the soft power of the Western Europe with the democracy, and the Eastern power with the hard dictatorship and all the things. Then a few other things. Then also could be like the church-state union, and there are a few other things that we could put on those. And then here currently, in the presidential campaign, at least one of the candidates was trying to give that, we was telling that, is going to give more power to church. And the church-state courtship began long time back, but it is going more closer and closer, and the courtship is matured in such a way that it's ready for the marriage. That is what is happening. It is all started with President Reagan's time. And the church-state, the courtship, and when he had, we had a courtship with the Vatican, then it continues all the way along. And now what is happening is that, and soon we will see what would be happening in this tent-o. And according to prophecy, what will happening when this kind of things, that the divided rulership is going to take place. There is one thing that is going to come, is that a big rock, which is not carved out of the hand of man, and which is going to smash the faith and knock down. And as we know that is going to be the kingdom of God, which is not made by man's hand. So then now all those things are taking place now, is one by one everything is fulfilled. The only one thing is awaiting to be fulfilled is the stone from heaven to fall. So then what happened was that when not only it smashed, then it made into dust. And then comes a big mountain out of it. So may God help us to understand the prophecy which is before us, is telling the time signature, the timeline is there. If you come along, and all those things what is happening should not be surprised, because we know the history in advance. So whatever is happening, and also now whatever is happening in our political system and our economic system, and we cannot be proud of our economic system either now. We are better than Europe today, but it may not be forever. And then as soon as the Britain pulled out, even ours was stumbling past 3 days. So all those things will be, what is happening with our Medicare system, what is happening to our Social Security system. Then all those things will be coming. And on top of it, what is happening to our moral system. The country which was born because of religion. Now, religious liberty, do we have it today much? It's only we have it in the paper, and we have it in the Statue of Liberty. And liberty we have to just only can buy as a little statue if you visit there. And that is all is today, but in whatever is there. And all those things tells that we are nearing the end. And are we ready? We are not to be afraid of what is happening here. Am I ready? This was told, the vision was given, and the dream was interpreted to Nebuchadnezzar, that he can examine his heart. A heathen king who did not know God. God was merciful unto him that he revealed the dream and interpreted, that he can examine his heart. Do you know that later Nebuchadnezzar was saved? He declared and he worshipped the God of heaven. And he went one step further, even to give the decree to punish the people who would not worship. But then, here, if it was for the God was merciful unto that heathen king, how about us? We need to examine our heart, understanding this dream and vision, that every step is fulfilled. We are now living at the end time, where the feet is awaiting to receive the rock which will be falling. Now, it is our duty, brethren, to examine our heart. Am I straight with the Lord? We have come this far. We got only this much. Many times when we have the study, we used to say that we are at 11th hour. No, we are not in 11th hour. We are in the last seconds of the 11th hour. There is nothing called hour anymore. So even though you say that till some more time is there in the sun clock, but then we are not having much time. So it's our duty and our opportunity to examine our heart, to make our life straight with the Lord, as individual, as a church. No more time is left for us in the history, in the prophetic timeline. There is not extended line to put one more date, and all the date which need to be filled is filled. Only one more date is that. Only one thing need to be fulfilled is that when the character of Christ is perfectly reproduced in his people, he will come to claim them as his one. That is the only prophecy that need to be fulfilled. That is the only condition that need to be fulfilled. And once that is fulfilled, he will come to claim them as his one. It's our duty. that we renew our covenant with Him. May we pray that He gives us power to obey, power to overcome, that we will have power to reflect His character in our life, that we'll be ready for His coming. This is my wish and prayer for this morning. Amen.